coming up. From the Northeast Live Studios in Guwahati, Northeast Tonight with Wasbir Hussain.
Hello and welcome to Northeast Tonight, the show that decodes the region. Well, viewers, the first phase of Assam elections ended peacefully today with the voter turnout expected to touch 80% or more after the election authorities finished collating data pouring in from the polling stations. Despite stringent COVID protocol put in place by the Election Commission with the stern message, no mask, no vote, people demonstrated enough enthusiasm to come out and vote. The first phase involved polling for 47 constituencies spread over 12 districts in the Brahmaputra Valley heartland. There were a total of 81 lakh voters in this phase out of the total electorate of 2.32 crore. The first phase has always been crucial for the overall result in Assam. In 2011, for instance, the Congress won 38 of these 47 seats and went on to win the polls. In 2016, on the other hand, the Congress tally came down to just 9 out of the 47 and the BJP and its ally AGP cornered 35 seats. Therefore, all eyes are now on the performance of the parties in this phase of elections. Well, to decode the first phase of the Assam elections, I am joined tonight by former MP Mr. Kirip Chaliha. Assam Congress spokesperson Bobeeta Sharma is also with me. Assam BJP spokesperson Janki Goswami is joining me soon. Also joining me is Ahom Jatiyo Parishad spokesman Amrit Khatoniar. Dr. Rajib Handique, Professor Guwahati University and Commentator is with me as well. Besides, Dr. Vikash Tripathi, also a professor at Guwahati University and political analyst, is on the show with me in the studios. Before we begin, of course, the discussions, let's listen into veteran Congress leader and a prominent tea community leader, Pawan Singh Ghatwar, with whom I spoke a little while ago during the day, of course. I'm now joined by veteran Congress leader, former union minister and a very important member of the tea garden community, Mr. Pawan Singh Ghatwar. Mr. Pawan Singh Ghatwar, welcome to Notice Live.
Thank you.
You see, the first phase of the elections, Mr. Ghatwar, has always been crucial in Assam. Because there is a large, sizable chunk of tea garden voters, and both the BJP and the Congress have been trying hard this time around to garner the votes of this community. How will the tea garden community impact these elections, and particularly in the first phase, several constituencies are dominated by tea garden voters?
You see, it's a correct assessment, and definitely up to 35, 36, the tea voter, they are the deciding factor in the upper Assam region and the North Bank also. And this election, I am certain that in compared to the last election, this time much more tea garden workers are voting for the Congress party. That will definitely impact the result. And also I have seen, because I have gone round 2-3 constituency today itself, and I have seen the regional party in some places, this Jatiya Parishad and other places, Raijor Dal, their presence is in the villages, and mostly these voters last time they have voted for the BJP party, and this time if they take some vote from this area, and that definitely will impact the result of the BJP party.
You see, Mr. Ghatwar, in 2011, the Congress had won 38 of the 47 seats which have gone to the polls today. 38 of the 47 seats, that's a huge number. But in 2016, the number of the Congress in these 47 seats came down to 9. That was the reason, the primary reason why the Congress lost the 2016 elections. How do you look at the equations this time around?
You see, this time, by and large, the tea garden workers are unhappy with the meddling of their daily wages by the government, because last 5 years they have not in a position to decide and finalize, and over and above, just few days before they have given a notification for increasing the wages. That also created some hope among the tea garden worker, but the management, they went to the High Court. At the end of the day, the workers were not receiving what that was announced, and that definitely make them unhappy, because though the government has given a notification, but that money has not come to their hand, and that has contributed more unhappiness among the tea garden worker, and that will reflect in the voting pattern of the tea community this time.
We are all talking about the fact that in the first phase of elections, the number of voters is 81 lakh, of which the tea garden community comprised roughly about 10 lakhs. But Mr. Khatoniar, we must not forget the fact that there are 70 lakh other voters, belonging to other communities, caste Hindus and Assamese ethnic groups, Assamese Muslims, Hindi-speaking people, Gorkhas, and so on. Do you think your party's, alignment, your party had forged an alliance with the AIUDF. Do you think that is going to impact the voting behavior of the rest of the community other than the tea tribes?
I don't think that will, because you see the effect of this Mahajot Bandhan will be not that what we have seen in the media and other places. The people of the Upper Assam are more liberal, and especially in the tea garden community and other community, these things are not very influence in their decision at the time of voting.
There is also a feeling that the two regional parties, the two new regional parties, Assam Jatiyo Parikhod and Raizor Dol, they are going to change the arithmetic, at least in a number of seats, at least in a few seats in eastern Assam, or for that matter in northern Assam. So how do you look at it? What will be what could be the possible impact of these two new regional parties?
Yes, because I have seen 4 or 5 polling station, and when I asked our worker, Congress worker, what is so they said that no, here in this polling booth, the fight will be between Congress and Jatiyo Parishad, and some place with the Raizor Dol. So that definitely, because earlier the fight was in between Congress and the BJP party. Now if that it is not very significant, but this little bit vote from this side to that side also makes a difference, because when this time, you see, there was a landslide support for the BJP party in the last election, but that is not this time, definitely I can say. And this little shifting of vote from here to there will affect the result of some seats in Upper Assam.
We are talking about the first phase of the elections today, Mr. Khatoniar. We have all seen, you have seen the BJP engaged itself in a massive campaign this time round, led by none other than Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Plethora of top guns of the party had campaigned. Your party too tried to match up by fielding Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, the Chhattisgarh Chief Minister, and so on. And when you brought the Chhattisgarh Chief Minister, the BJP fielded the former Chhattisgarh Chief Minister, Mr. Raman Singh. So all these things, what impact could it have on the minds of the voters who have voted today?
People may say many things, but there is a simmering effect of the Ka in the Upper Assam region. And the other thing, the promise given by the BJP party, BJP government of the center and the state government, many of the promises were unfulfilled. And that also influence the thinking of the people. And in Moran constituency, I have seen the large number of young boys of the college and university has come forward in support of the Congress candidate. Or this type of change I have not seen in the last election. So these things definitely, and you see, say in case of Moran constituency, only one meeting was held by Mr. Baghel, but and there are lot of BJP leader, Chief Minister as a whole 2-3 meeting. Dr. Hemanta Biswa Sharma also hold meeting, 2 meeting, and other leader also. But from Congress side, I think the worker and the other people, they are working in the grassroots level, and they have, I feel they have successfully mobilized in many places the voter in favor of Congress.
Finally, on May 2nd, where that is the date where everyone is waiting for, you are waiting for, we are waiting for. But the point is, my question, Mr. Khatoniar, will the results, according to you, reflect that there had been a tough contest this time round?
Definitely, and definitely I can say it will be much better than the last assembly election.
Mr. Pawan Singh Khatoniar, thank you very much indeed for speaking to Northeast Live.
Thank you, welcome.
All right, that was Pawan Singh Khatoniar speaking. I'll go straight to the debate. I have got a very eminent panel tonight. Let me start with you, BJP spokesperson Janki Goswami. You have heard Congress leader, very senior Congress leader, Pawan Singh Khatoniar saying that May 2nd result is going to reflect that there has been a tough contest. Would you at least admit to that fact?
See, for us, we don't feel that we faced any tough contest in the first phase of elections, because as I had discussed earlier with you, Wasbir, we had already discussed that among the 47 seats that are going to the polls this time in the first phase, around 35 of these seats are already in our domain. And we are very, very positive that this time we are going to score better. It is not only because we have had a good campaign trail, it's not so. It is because of the 5 years of hard work that the BJP has done, and the way the BJP stood through the thick and thin. BJP stood with the people of Assam through all the thick and thin. Today we are talking about wage hike. Mr. Khatoniar has also spoken about the wage hike, I believe. The wage hike that the Congress has given a guarantee now. The unfortunate part is that they are giving a guarantee now when they are not in power. But when they were in power, they did nothing for the upliftment of the tea garden voters, or they had always viewed them as voters. They had done nothing for the tea garden belt people. But if you look at us, we have tried to fulfill our promise. Yes, it is not a one-sided decision. That's why we have not been able to come to a consensus till now.
All right.
But very soon, we are very positive that we will come up with a tea wage hike as well.
We'll have to wait for that. If it happens, it's well and good for the tea garden community. I will get a quick response from Bobeeta Sharma of the Congress, and then I will go to the other panelist. Ms. Bobeeta Sharma, welcome to Northeast Tonight. Question is, let's not get stuck with the tea garden waste debate. My question is, in 2011, this was the opening remarks I had made. I asked this question to Pawan Singh Khatoniar as well. Everybody said throughout the day we were live. We had talked to many leaders live during our show continuously throughout the day. Everybody said that the results of the first phase is extremely crucial, and that is going to determine as to who is going to win the Assam elections this time. In 2011, the Congress won 38 of these 47 seats where elections took place today. And in 2016, your figures came down to only 9, and ultimately you went on to lose the elections. Now, what is the sense you are getting from your party workers in the ground? Because 47 seats, the voting ended 2 hours ago. Few people may be still in the polling stations trying to finish up the process. That's a different issue. But the voting has ended. Now, what is the feedback you are getting from the ground?
Thank you, Wasbir. As you had initially said in your first opening statement, that the turnout has been almost 80%, although it is not 80%, but almost. So I think that shows that the voter is trying to have a change. You see, we had in 15 years, we had little bit of anti-incumbency, which is obvious because 15 years is a long time, and people wanted to give a chance to another party. But they have seen in the last 5 years that the 15 years of the Congress government was definitely better than what they had bargained for, what they got in the last 5 years. You must remember that when we took over in 2001, what was Assam at that time? Assam was a very distressed state, no peace, no environment of development, nothing was there. We had to do everything from scratch and give an environment of development and peace to the people of Assam, which was not there at all. So whatever the BJP got in the last 5 years, they got everything on a platter, all the infrastructure, everything. We were in a state where we did not have even money to pay, salary to pay to the employees, government employees. So from that kind of a condition to where we are now, the BJP has got everything on a platter. They only had to do whatever they had to do in a continuous government process, which they have failed miserably. So we see that this is a vote against the government which has failed to give unemployment that they had promised, failed to give employment that they had promised, failed to give fair price of essential commodities. They have failed in all fronts, and most importantly, Congress stands against CAA, which they have not been able to fulfill.
Okay.
They are standing with CAA, and as you said, Upper Assam and everywhere in all over Assam, CAA is a big matter now.
All right. I'll come back. You have made several points there. I'll give enough time to Janki Goswami shortly to respond if any. Let me come to you, Mr. Kirip Chaliha. I have a piece of paper that contains a lot of statistics. Now, this is under the head Close Fights in Phase 1 in 2016. Now, we have seen that, there are any number of seats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the list goes on. There are several seats where the contests have been extremely close, Mr. Kirip Chaliha, last time. For example, take the case of the Sibsagar seat. Pranab Gogoi of the Congress won against Surabhi Rajkuari of the BJP, and the margin of victory was 542. That was the margin. Then, if we go to Dumduma constituency, Durga Bhumij of the Congress won against Dilip Moran of the BJP by 782 votes. So, I don't want to waste time naming all the names, all the names in the list. But this time around, we have got two major formations. The BJP formation was there in 2016 as well. BJP and AGP were allies there, and BPF was also there. It was more or less the same formidable alliance which was there in 2016 and now. Only thing is that BPF has been replaced by the UPPL. That's it. And Congress on its part this time, they on the surface seems to have consolidated itself by forging an alliance with AIUDF and the left parties as well as the BPF. Now, do you think in view of this Congress having an alliance, do you think the fight is going to be much more intense this time? What is your feeling?
Well, thank me. I'm not a part of that case that's going on among political parties. But
won't you have loved to be? Won't you have loved to be?
I'm happy to be happy as I am.
Okay, I take your point.
Anyway, now first point is about the polling percentage. It's going to be as high as you are saying 80. I say it might be even higher.
Right.
Because Upper Assam, the 47 constituencies where we have had elections,
right,
usually the voting percentage is definitely lower than Lower Assam. Because Lower Assam, people vote massively because of the minority population who tend to vote. However, it will be wrong, the first phase, to say that 80% or more votes is an anti-incumbency vote. It could be a pro-incumbency vote also. I am not, Mrs. Khan shouldn't be very happy about it. I am saying that I think, I don't say that, but I am saying that this could be the other way around. So, it's very uncertain. The second point that I would like to emphasize with you and also with the panelists, I'd be happy to have their reactions. See, there has been a very shrill and very aggressive campaign by your leaders, BJP leaders, the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, the Defence Minister, Gadkari ji, and so many, and the President himself. Compared to that, the Congress campaign has been very sober. There was almost a downplay kind of thing. But I have seen with my little experience of few elections that I have led that sometimes when you are extremely active and extremely it goes to the extreme steps of campaigning, the low-lying and sober campaign yields results. There is an undercurrent of
So
the
you are-
anti.
You are saying that sober campaign cannot be underestimated.
I'm saying BJP was definitely the front runner in the election 2 months back, clear winner. Gradually, the gap is closing, and we are yet to see the second and third phase. Now, there is one point that you have raised, and what was raised by Mr. Khatoniar. I don't consider him to be a very great expert in election. He has been losing elections for quite a long time, and Congress party lost most of the Tigran supporters when he was in the helms of affairs. Anyway, but let me tell you, these two regional parties, and that they are having some impact in the village level. Now, where that is going to lead, these are also very important factors.
So, this is a very interesting point. Vikash Tripathi, the same question that I asked to Mr. Kirip Chaliha, the margin in 2016 in several seats was extremely small. But in view of the Congress this time having forged an alliance and entered into some kind of a grand alliance, do you think the contest is going to be much more tougher than what it was in 2016?
Actually, the contest would be tough and it can go either ways. For a very significant reason that the Congress party has an alliance in Lower Assam and Borak Valley. But in Upper Assam, Congress is facing twofold challenge. One is that they don't have a leadership. Let's accept that Congress is a party that could not decide upon a leadership. And second is really, despite the contest being keen, one is really uncertain where would the split of vote go, as the previous speaker rightly pointed out, that the Congress could not forge an alliance, but Rajordal and the AGP could forge an alliance, and which could impact some constituencies. Now the question is that people are decided in those constituencies where AJP and Rajordal are fighting collectively. Yeah. So in this situation, one is little unsure about whether Rajordal is taking away the Congress vote or the BJP vote. Now, the second point I also want to make is that if you see the vote share in Upper Assam, from 2016 and 2019, the vote share difference in Upper Assam between Congress and BJP has been around 10%. It was 45% for NDA and 35% for Congress in the last election. Now, this gap is huge. And that is where the challenge really remains. So you can fill in this gap by denting some traditional voters like T tribe, or denting the Hindu consolidation that is happening for BJP.
Right.
Now, one is of course doesn't see a lot of shift of T tribe vote taking place on the ground, though I am not a person who can speak for this, but that we would come to know only on 2nd May.
Okay.
So, had Congress been in alliance with some regionalist forces or been some T tribe forces, something, then the things would have been interesting. But
it would have been much more beneficial for the Congress. That's
had
what you
they
mean.
had an alliance in Upper Assam with some forces.
Okay, let me come to you, Dr. Rajib Handique. 2-3 points I want quick comments from you, because we will have to bring in other panelists as well. Dr. Rajib Handique, the point is, Dr. Vikash Tripathi gave a figure, but I think I have got different set of figures which is closed, which is the Election Commission figures. Last election, the vote share of the Congress was 31%, and the vote share of the BJP was roughly 30%. That means the Congress has a slightly more vote share than the BJP. Now, if we look at that, and if we look at my earlier question that there was a very thin margin, now how does vote share not necessarily, increase in vote share not necessarily translate into seats, isn't it?
True, actually, and moreover, I think the AGP, the alliance with AGP, you have to add the AGP votes to NDA. The BJP votes, and actually NDA, that makes the actual, and that takes it beyond the Congress. But this time around, this Mitrajut and Mahajut, I think Mahajut has got some allies which might actually help them, because in some constituencies like Naharkatia, Nazira, even in Thaura, there are substantial votes votes of the left parties. So if these votes, if it goes to the Mahajot, then Mahajot is the gainer. And regarding Raizordol and AJP, we actually don't know it will harm whose, it will cut into whose vote base. But I think it's going to cut into vote base of both the parties. So it is a very evenly poised thing.
Right.
And we also have to consider one thing, that especially in the North Bank, BPF has got quite a large number of concentration of Boro voters.
Yes.
Take Jonai. Jonai is one of the easternmost constituencies. It has got around 30,000 votes, Boro votes. So I think these pockets of votes, I don't know which way it goes, but this is going to really play a very important role.
Dr. Rajib Handique talked about several constituencies in Upper Assam being, having lot of left votes. And let me tell you, Sibsagar has been a stronghold of the CPI. For example, Mr. Pramod Gogoi, the veteran CPI leader, had been winning the Sibsagar seat several times in the past. So let us also not forget that. But Mr. Amrit Khatoniar, the question, we'll come to that. Mr. Amrit Khatoniar, hold on, Rajiv Handique. Amrit Khatoniar, spokesperson of the Assam Jatiya Parikhad. Dr. Rajiv Handique was posing the question, which parties may AJP and Raizordol votes cut into? And then he concluded by saying that it might cut into the votes of both the BJP as well as the Congress. So you must have done some assessment yourself, being a spokesman of the party. What is your take on this?
No, basically what the Handique has said is true, because being a new party, 3 months old party, we do not have a party cadre or party base. It's true, I do not deny it. But the fact remains, we are a party of the people of Assam. And the constituencies where we are going for election is the people of Assam's constituency primarily. And these are the people who has a high esteem on their self-respect, which has been demolished by the present government and the previous government. And the people of Assam are looking for a party which can retain their dignity and respect.
Mr. Khatoniar, if I have to use the Assamese word, you are being abegik.
No, abegik.
Emotional, emotions.
Emotions. I agree. I 100% I agree. It's I agree.
Isn't all the parties here depending on the Assamese people's vote and the
I
votes
agree
of
all
those who live in Assam?
No, I do not disagree with you. That's an emotional sentiment that I am trying to play around. But the fact remains, the Assamese people they have accepted the party as their own party. They have accepted it, and now which parties votes will be eroded?
I'll go to Bobeeta Sharma. I'll go to Bobeeta Sharma, but before that, let me say, Assam Jatiya Parikhad is a party that those electoral prospects as yet absolutely untested. We'll be able to make a proper assessment only after May 2 as to how the people of Assam have accepted. And let me also tell you, Mr. Khatoniar, let me also, yes, I love surprises. I love surprises.
There will be absolute surprise even in the first
I love surprises. A lot of people love surprises, but let me also put it on record that after the historic Assam Accord in 1985, the Assam Gana Parikhad, another newly formed party at that time, which I covered its foundation as a young reporter, that was the Golaghat Convention. The party did not win an absolute majority. But let's not go into that debate. Bobeeta Sharma, Vikash Tripathi had said a short while ago, I have to go for a break after this. Congress is at a disadvantage, that's what he said, because you have not settled the leadership question really. You don't have a leader of the stature after the demise of Mr. Tarun Gogoi. How do you respond to that? Has it put some kind of a difficulty to you, your party?
See, late Tarun Gogoi Dangoria's demise has been a loss for us. But then our party is dynamic. We have the retinue of young leaders who are there fighting in the battlefront. You have seen how all of them are fighting, right from the campaign, our PCC president, Ripun Bora, then our campaign chairperson, Pradut Bordoloi, then Gaurav Gogoi, our manifesto chairperson. Everybody is there on the battleground. I would also like to remind him, the panelist who said that, I think that the CM's Sarvanand Sonowal's report card is so bad that the BJP has not been able to project him as the chief minister face. Why? When Tarun Gogoi was the chief minister, we had fought the next election under his leadership that he is a CM face. But why the BJP has no CM face? Why the BJP is without a leader now? So that is a big question. The party doesn't have faith on their own CM. So how can people have faith on the party?
Okay, I'll go for a break. When I come back, I'll go straight to Janki Goswami for a response to that pointed question from Bobeeta Sharma as to why the BJP this time could not project a chief ministerial candidate, or why they're not projecting Sarbananda Sonowal as chief minister even this time, unlike what they did in 2016. Don't go away. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We are getting live visuals of Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, senior BJP leader, party's poll mascot in Assam, campaigning in North Karimganj for the party candidate Dr. Manas Das. Those are visuals coming live from Karimganj. Our reporter Bikram Sarkar is bringing those visuals live to you. As usual, massive crowd there. Let's listen into some ambience. All right, those are live visuals of Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma in his trademark style. This is a road show on a flower-bedecked open jeep, and this jeep is slowly moving on the streets of North Karimganj. This road show started quite some time back, and as usual, thousands of his supporters or followers, whatever you call it, thronging those rallies. Will stay for some time with those visuals. But let me come to you, Dr. Vikash Tripathi. Basically, we saw that this election, at least unlike in the past, the parties came up with clear manifestos. The Congress came up with something called the 5 guarantees, which is a new element which has been introduced. They are saying that they are not making promises anymore. They are taking a one step further. They are making guarantees. Now, the BJP also was not left behind. They called their manifesto a Sankalp Patra, with 10 specific promises which the BJP has made in the Sankalp Patra. And of course, the BJP is also talking about its achievements in the last 5 years. Now, being a ruling party, BJP has a lot of things to their advantage, like the campaigning and etc. But being in the opposition, do you think the Congress is at a disadvantage, or you don't look at it that way?
No, certainly the election mood is now the same as it was 2 months ago or 1 month ago. With the coming in of Congress manifesto, BJP also became very defensive about the tea tribe. So, this talk about raising it to 365 rupees also hit at the psyche of BJP's policy perspective. Because, and that is what I am emphasizing upon, that if you look at NDA vote share in Upper Assam and Congress vote share, it is around a difference of 10%, and BJP's strength is really the traditional vote that has shifted to it. And which are these traditional vote? The T tribe, the scheduled tribe, the indigenous vote, and the caste Hindu votes over which it is relying. The challenge before Congress was, Congress is not a weak party in Assam because it has more than 30% of vote share in across regions, and that is what precisely its strength is, and that is why it is contesting with AIUDF in alliance. So the challenge before Congress was really to dent the caste Hindu Assamese vote, further to dent the ST vote and the T tribe vote.
Also to dent the Muslim vote that had gone to the AIUDF.
Yeah, that has no, but they are in alliance with AIUDF, so
Yeah,
there is a
because only
consolidation
to make up for the loss that they
Yes.
suffered last time.
So if and that is why they included these things in the manifesto because what Congress was really relying upon was a strategic contest in few constituencies in Upper Assam. So Congress may receive a dividend of reverse religious polarization in Lower Assam and Borak Valley because it is contesting in alliance with AIUDF, and if they are able to win some seats because of strategic contest, they would be in a very comfortable position as many of the people are saying that there may be some surprises. Why? Because of this strategic contest in few constituencies. But again, if there is a difference of 10% vote share between two parties or alliance, you need to at least cover up 5% to be in a contesting position. With AJP and Rajor Dal coming into picture and playing a very decisive role in some constituencies, a split of vote can act. I don't know where would it go, but it is very complicated.
Let me ask a very simple question to Ms. Bobeeta Sharma of the Congress. Ms. Bobeeta Sharma, while the BJP and its allies, while the votes remains intact, the anti-BJP forces, that also includes the Ahom Jatiyo Parikhod and Raizor Dal. So the general feeling is that, the simple feeling, which may or may not be correct, is that while the BJP votes are intact, BJP and its allies votes are intact, the anti-BJP votes are split between the Congress, we are talking about Upper Assam now, between the Congress as well as AJP and Raizor Dal. So ultimately the Congress is going to be at the receiving end. How do you respond?
Well, I don't think it that way. If you observe all the elections from 2001 onwards, I won't go back further.
Yeah.
You will see that whenever there is a triangular fight, it is always the Congress that wins. When there was AGP, when there was no alliance between AGP and BJP, the Congress had won. So this, I sincerely believe that Raizor Dal and ruling Juti's Dal, they will cut into BJP votes and not cut into our votes.
Mr. Kirip, how do you look at this?
See, I'm not astrologer, because I think votes are being given, and although some people have stated openly in the TV, I still think that the Assamese people this time, cutting across communities, they are keeping their the votes close to their chest. Number one. Number two, let me tell you, whatever has been the performance earlier, there has been massive change in the even voting pattern and even in voting polarization during the last 5 years. For example, BJP had virtually fully consolidated its base of support in the Bengali Hindu community, which was earlier with Congress. The three tribes were almost majority came to BJP. Unfortunately, as someone has pointed out from both sides, or I think Mr. Tripathi, someone or other at the last moment there seems to have been certain weaknesses came out in some mishandling took place, due to which ACMS, which is a very old organization of three tribes, has been able to spread certain amount of confusions. And Mrs. Priyanka Gandhi's very clever and very subtle and sober way of handling the issues must have created a division, very sharp, not a sharp division, but a division. Now, how intense the division is yet to be found out.
Okay.
But my feeling is, let me tell you, a government's performance is 40%. It decides an election. Now, the caste and the communal polarizations, 20%. 10% is of course candidate. Now, that's where BJP may have made certain mistakes, due to which there may be problems. Now, 20% is campaign. Now, this campaign has been massive by BJP.
So you are saying that BJP scored a maximum points in campaign?
Yes, but let me tell you, most decisive among all this, percentage-wise it may be nothing, but there is a thing called luck in election. There's
Luck.
a thing called luck in election.
Okay.
Now, anybody can laugh at it. I have had so many elections. I have fought elections in states. I myself have fought elections in various states and my own elections also. Luck plays a very mighty role.
Janki, want to
And
respond?
I say that this time the elections will go for the luckier one.
Okay, Janki Goswami, want to respond? I'm coming to you, Dr. Rajib Handique.
See, if we talk about AJP and the Rise or Fall, these are two very newly formed parties. But the kind of impact that we thought that they would make, we were expecting that they would make some formidable changes. But I don't think that has really happened, because practically if you see, we are very confident that yes, they will cut into some votes, and probably in some places they will cut into Congress votes, in some places they will cut into NDA's votes, but they will fail to make any significant mark, because I don't think they will win any seat, number one. That is partly because of their political immaturity, and also because they lack in organizational strength as of now, because they are two very newly formed parties. Another thing that I want to mention here is that there is a general assumption that AIUDF and Congress votes will merge, they will add up, and then they will harm the BJP. But here I would like to mention one thing, that certain plus and minuses are not very direct and not very apparent. Because apparently if you see, yes, that is the figure, but if you analyze it deeply, then you will see that the equations are not so direct, because as Congress has made an alliance with their newly formed friend, their new comrade AIUDF, they have also lost some mass support from the public support in certain places, because of which they will cut down on their vote. Their votes will get deduced. And because of this, the equations that everybody is assuming that their votes will add up, but the fact is not going to be that.
Vikash Tripathi, you want to say
just
something?
a brief intervention. You know, there are 26 seats, and I was looking at the data. Congress AIUDF alliance would really work well in Lower Assam and Borak Valley, at least on 26 seats, where from
here I am talking about the Upper Assam belt, maybe the Northern Assam, Upper Assam and Middle Assam belt.
Madam, in Upper Assam, Congress AIUDF alliance is a non-issue. In a sense of voter, because the minority population is less, but in 26 seats
in Lower Assam.
In Borak Valley and Lower Assam, they have only been either with Congress or the AIUDF. 6 of those 26 seats was taken away by NDA, 5 by BJP and 1 by AGP in last election.
So you are saying, Dr. Vikash Tripathi, that the Congress and the AIUDF may make up those losses which they suffered in 2016 in Lower Assam.
In Lower Assam and Borak Valley, there would be Congress AIUDF alliance would work really well, because it would contain the split of votes, and at least 25 constituencies they would be at advantage.
But these are the same seats which they had won earlier.
Yes,
more or less, these are the same seats they had won earlier also.
1 point. So far as the BJP is concerned, I think they've made it amply clear that they don't want minority votes. They've made it. They've gone on record. So I think since they know about the position, let's see what happens.
No, but point is, another point I'd like to make it here. I don't want to dishearten any of the big brothers. I mean the BJP or the Congress, the big players. I will not hurt their sentiments. But the fact remains, what we are talking of the vote banks, what we are talking about their vote gains this year, that way. One must remember, 2016 was the base year for BJP to make their presence felt in Assam, number one. And what was the cause behind that? It was the Modi wave. And how that Modi wave has come, that everybody knows. Now, what are the lies they have said that has been exposed very badly now? Now, the same BJP people are, maybe they might be dancing in the streets, they might be following their leaders, but I have serious doubt about their casting their votes in favor of BJP, because they also feel some of them may not have got the benefits out of which they were supposed to get. There are so many things. Now, so far the Congress is concerned, Congress, by virtue of their presence in the state for so long a period, over 70 years.
But how does it connect to the Ahom Jatiyo Parikhod? That is the question.
My question.
Let me go to Rajib Handique. But let me go to Rajib Handique, and let me tell you, Mr. Amrit Khatoniar, that your leaders of the Ahom Jatiyo Parikhod were confined to their respective constituencies because they didn't have an organization and they could
Agreed,
not leave
agreed.
their constituencies to campaign anywhere.
Agreed. But despite that, our respective candidates has taken up their own candidature in such a manner, we are confident that obviously we cannot win. As of today, what we have seen, we have contested only 83 seats. We cannot claim that 83 seats will win. But definitely the opinion polls are showing us as 0 to 2. But that will be a miracle, that will be a surprise.
That will be a surprise. We'll have to wait for May 2nd. Dr. Rajib Handique, that simple question that I had asked Ms. Bobeeta Sharma, while on the surface it looks as if the BJP and its allies, their vote are going to remain intact. Only the BPF has been replaced by the UPPL. But the anti-BJP votes are going to be split because there is the Congress AIUDF on one hand, there is the AJP and Rizordol on the other, there are some left forces on the other, and so on and so forth. What do you think? Of course, the left forces are with the Mahajot.
Yeah, I think, the point is, left, as I told you, left will always go, it is with the Mahajot, and left votes will go there. The point is, Rizordol and AJP, they started off with some handicaps, but yet they fielded some very good candidates, and of course they don't have organizational base for which they will not be able to do or come up to the expectation.
No, you're not answering my question. My question is, while the BJP votes remains intact, the anti-BJP votes are going to be split. Do you agree with this theory?
It's very difficult to say. I think it's very premature to say. By anti-BJP vote, we mean the anti-Ka vote actually. And for BJP, I think AJP is going to be a liability. And AJP, I think, will actually, in a big way, it will pull down BJP in certain ways.
That's a very interesting point. I'm coming to the last 5 minutes of the show. Janki Goswami, Ahom Ganaporikhod is going to be your biggest liability.
No,
that is what Rajib Handique is saying.
Not at all. I don't know from what kind of analysis he is stating, giving that statement. But we are very clear that even today, Himanta Biswa Sharma, our leader, has clearly spoken that earlier we stood at 86 and this time it is going to be plus 86. So, AGP, wherever we have fielded our candidates, that has been done with a lot of research and groundwork. So, we are very confident that AGP is going to retain their own seats wherever they have fielded their candidates. And we are also going to stand strong. 60 was our aim. It's going to be higher. It's going to be higher. So we are not going to lose on any seats.
Let me bring in.
We are not going to lose on any seats, and AGP by no means is going to be our liability. As I said, we had done a lot of groundwork before fielding the candidates. That's why we had made certain changes in certain constituencies.
Rizordol and AJP, they are going to cut into the votes of AGP in a big way. Just mark my words.
Okay, they are saying that AGP would be the biggest loser because of the presence of Ahom Jatiyo Parikhod. Yes, Bobeeta Sharma, last words to you, last comments. Bobeeta Sharma.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was telling you when I said, when you have a triangular contest, it is always the Congress which wins. In that way, I meant that when AGP and BJP allied together, the AGP votes also went to BJP. But now, the people who had voted for BJP because of the alliance with AGP will not vote for the BJP now.
Yeah.
Those votes will be cut. Those votes may go to Rizordol or AJP. That's what I was trying to say.
Final comments to you, Mr. Kirip Chaliha, then I'm coming to you, Dr. Vikash Tripathi.
See, I think I would say after the conclusion of the first phase, that the BJP is still the front runner. Congress is deliberately looks like it's fighting for the powerful second position. I think they are not aiming for the top position for all their.
What do you mean deliberately? What do you mean?
I think they are working to consolidate themselves for a next fight. You can go for any assumptions.
Bobeeta Sharma, you are consolidating yourself for the next fight. That's what Kirip Chaliha is saying.
Number three.
Bobeeta Sharma,
can I finish?
Quickly, very quickly.
I disagree with him.
Rizordol.
We are going to win. We are going to win 30 plus 6 in Upper Assam. I would like to tell Mr. Chaliha.
No, I have to make my observation. I am saying that it appears to the analysts who are not biased at the moment that they are trying to regain their position and are aiming for the second slot. Let me take the last one. I think Raizor Dol and Lurin Jyoti's party, AJP, I think they are thinking of the future emergence as a third.
Okay, what is the role, direct answer, 10 seconds. What is the main role of the Assam Jatiya Parishad in this election? To consolidate yourself as a political party or to win the elections?
To consolidate ourselves as a political party first. Number two, at the same time, we are hopeful to gain certain seats and to sit in the opposition.
I think that is a very, very honest comment by the spokesperson of the Assam Jatiya Parishad. That's an acceptable comment by the Assam Jatiya Parishad spokesman, Amrit Khatoniar. Final words to you, Dr. Vikash Tripathi. How do you look at the
Upper Assam, the dominance that BJP enjoys in the Upper Assam? If it is broken, of course, the scenario would change. But it can be only broken when Congress has a sufficient vote share. And it's because, as previous speaker was saying, Congress had ST as voters, T-tribe as voters. That has really fragmented. And as Congress could not forge an alliance with regionalist forces, I think it would be very difficult. Apart from a leadership crisis, it would be difficult. But one thing is for sure, that Congress was knowing its weakness. That is why it also went for a strategic contest in few of the Upper Assam constituencies. So one has to wait and see how much, where has the AJP and Rajor has dented, whether they have taken away the BJP NDA vote or the Congress vote.
I am running completely out of time. Yes, 10 seconds to you. 10 seconds to you, Bobeeta Sharma. 10 seconds to you. No time at all.
I would like to, tell your esteemed panelists, when he is talking about repeatedly that Congress has not formed alliance with regional forces, has he forgotten Hagrama Mohilar's BPF?
In Upper Assam,
who can be more
that
regional than Hagrama Mohilari and his party? Why are you misleading people? You are misleading people. This is a rainbow alliance of 10. This is a rainbow alliance of 10 10 parties.
See, he said that Vikash Tripathi said that he's talking about Upper Assam only. He's talking about. Anyway, this has without doubts.
BPF is not our ally.
Without doubts.
But BPF was not a planned alliance for you.
Okay, I'm running out. Absolutely run out of time. Absolutely, I request my panelists, to bear with me. I've absolutely run out of time. What we have, concluded from this debate during discussions during the day, that it is going to be a keen contest this time round. That is what elections are all about. And the few opinion polls that have emerged so far also projected, of course, the BJP as a front runner, but they are also giving a lot of seats to the Congress and its allies, that is the Grand Alliance. We'll have to wait and watch. At the end of the day, anything can happen in elections. Many of the time, the political pundits or the pollsters have gone totally wrong, and that's why we have to wait till the 2nd of March. We have 2 more phases to go on the 1st of April and the 6th of April, and Northeast Live will bring you continuous coverage of the Assam elections from ground zero. I thank my panelists for participating in the program and the viewers for watching the show. Good night and goodbye.